Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
More than 29,000 people have now been tested for COVID-19 in San Diego County. 96% have tested negative. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kimberly Hunt. The county also updated its numbers today, and to date, we've had 2,087 confirmed cases, 75 more than yesterday. The county also announced 3 more people have died, bringing our death toll to 63. And the county estimates more than 900 people have so far recovered from the virus. Today, the president announced plans for a phased reopening of the country. At the direction of his medical professionals on the coronavirus task force, the administration put out a set of guidelines and criteria for each state to roll out when the models show it's safe to do so. Each governor will decide when and how to get businesses up and running again. 10 News reporter Anthony Pura has more on what needs to happen before we take the first steps toward normalcy.
It's been nearly a month since business at the French Gourmet took a hit. The restaurant only allowed to do takeout orders, pickup, and delivery in the midst of the pandemic.
It's unsustainable. It will not work long term.
Owner Michel Malico is waiting for any sign things can get back to normal. On Thursday, President Trump sounding hopeful parts of the country could reopen before the end of the month.
I think 29 states are in that ball game.
But the president making it clear it will be up to the states to decide.
It also depends on the governors what they want to do.
The White House laid out recommendations for states to follow. It happens in 3 phases, each phase allowing for the easing of social distancing and more businesses reopening.
We did not put a timeline on any of the phases. We want the governors, with the data that they have, community by community, to be setting up those timelines.
But before states can even begin phase 1, the guidelines say the state should first see a 2-week decline in coronavirus cases. They also say hospitals should have a COVID-19 testing program in place for healthcare workers, including emerging antibody testing. Phase 1 for employers, it recommends continuing telework and returning to work in phases. The guidelines also advise they close employee common areas. Phase 1 won't allow schools or bars to reopen yet, but it does allow movie theaters, sporting venues, churches, and gyms as long as they adhere to strict physical distancing protocols. And that goes the same for restaurants and their sit-down areas, meaning the French Gourmet will be able to begin sitting people again, though Malico knows it will still be a struggle if he's not allowed to fill the restaurant.
You still need the same number of chefs in the kitchen, the same number of dishwashers, the same number of cooks. And servers for half the capacity. So what do? You double the price?
And though the president says some communities are ready to begin reopening, Malico believes it's further down the road for San Diego, and he can only guess when.
I thought that May 15 was a goal, that it would be possible.
Anthony Pura, 10 News.
Earlier this week, Governor Newsom said he will begin reopening the state based on several indicators, although he did not give a timeline when that may start. 5.2 million more people filed for unemployment last week. That brings the total number of Americans filing jobless claims in the last month to roughly 22 million. That's about the population of Florida. The Small Business Administration announced the Paycheck Protection Program has run out of money. The administration is asking Congress for an additional $250 billion to replenish those funds. But Democrats want more of the money to go to disadvantaged entrepreneurs, hospitals, and states. Republicans argue that those needs should be deferred to another round of aid in the future. And those unemployment numbers are a big reason for the president's 3-phase plan with governors to gradually reopen the country. Some states are ready to begin, while others need more time. My co-anchor, Steve Atkinson, tells us why from his home studio. Steve?
Kim, many states are starting to see their numbers level off or fall altogether, but governors from other states argued they needed their own timeline, including our governor here in California, because we're still facing some challenges and we're not quite ready for this new normal. Here's ABC's Marcia Gonzalez.
Before President Trump's announcement sharing plans to reopen the country,
we are not opening all at once, but one careful step at a time.
several state and city leaders concerned about acting too soon, moving to extend their shutdowns until at least mid-May, including in New York, where the still staggering number of deaths from COVID-19 is slowly declining, along with the hospitalization rate. Healthcare workers on the front lines, including ER Dr. Melanie Malloy, showing us the challenges they're still facing in places like Mount Sinai Hospital in Brooklyn.
Most of our beds are taken up by intubated patients, meaning patients who can't breathe on their own and who are on the ventilator.
The virus still having a devastating impact on nursing homes in this country. At this senior facility in New Jersey, the bodies of 15 residents found in a small morgue meant to hold just 4.
They were overcome by bodies, and we needed to be able to help them.
And in South Dakota, the largest coronavirus outbreak in the country, nearly 600 people testing positive at this pork processing plant. Those workers then infecting more than 100 others. But some signs of progress in this country's battle against this pandemic. A team in Salt Lake City tracking the contacts of 85% of people infected there, a key in preventing further spread.
What date did you start to feel like you had some kind of symptoms?
And moments of hope like this one in Southern California. After 2 weeks in intensive care battling COVID-19, 75-year-old Jim Mastrobuono now heading home. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
We can all use those moments of hope. By the way, Governor Gavin Newsom was on that phone call with President Trump today. He has yet to comment about those federal guidelines or how they impact his own 6-point guideline that he revealed to the state on Tuesday. Kim?
All right. Thank you, Steve. And we have more developments on the USS Theodore Roosevelt. The Navy is reportedly considering reinstating the ship's captain. Captain Brett Crozier was fired 2 weeks ago after pleading for help during a coronavirus outbreak aboard the San Diego-based carrier. Well, it's also being reported that U.S. officials believe the outbreak on the ship came from routine flight operations. Former ABC 10 News military reporter Bob Lawrence explains how these flights carry supplies and crew members.
Parts for the airplanes, mail is delivered this way, sometimes food.
And the Navy also identified the sailor who died from COVID-19 from the USS Theodore Roosevelt as Chief Petty Officer Charles Thacker. President Trump's former attorney Michael Cohen will be released from prison early due to the pandemic. Cohen was originally scheduled to be released late next year from a federal prison camp in New York. He's serving 3 years for tax fraud, campaign finance violations, and lying to Congress. 14 inmates and 7 staff members at the prison have tested positive. Cohen will have to be quarantined for 14 days at the prison before his release. Then he will be allowed to serve the remainder of his sentence from home. The coronavirus is taking a massive toll on the city of San Diego's budget to the tune of a $250 million shortfall. To compensate for lost revenue, the city will reduce hours at libraries and rec centers and eliminate 350 positions. But as the city prepares for those cuts, the incoming mayor and city council members will get big raises. And that's because in 2018, voters approved a measure that barred city leaders from voting on their own salary changes.
We took away this conflict of interest of letting them vote on their own pay, and we tied it to judge salaries.
The measure kicks in after the 2020 election when Mayor Faulkner terms out. State Assemblyman Todd Gloria and City Council President Pro Tem Barbara Bree, running to replace Faulkner, say they'll take voluntary pay cuts if the city is still in bad financial shape. And today, Mayor Faulkner set his sights on supporting San Diego's arts and culture through this crisis. Well, a new public-private partnership is providing a boost of a little over $1 million.
We had to reduce our arts and grants by 50%. But make no mistake, arts, culture are incredibly important and in the fabric of really who we are in this great city of ours. Many of us, of course, everybody's home watching, whether it's movies, television, reading books, listening to music, watching performances being streamed online, staying connected. That's helping us. That's helping us emotionally, mentally, to get through this crisis. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help San Diego arts, to help San Diego artists also get through this crisis.
The effort is starting with funding from the San Diego Regional Arts and Culture Coalition, the San Diego Foundation, the city, and private donations. Small businesses in Poway may soon get some relief thanks to a new loan program. The City Council is setting aside a $2 million grant to help businesses impacted by the pandemic. A qualified applicant can receive up to $50,000. To qualify, businesses must have existed for at least 1 year and have no more than 50 full-time employees. The application process will start on April 23rd on a secure website. Abbott Laboratories is shipping out millions of antibody test kits that could change the way we fight the coronavirus. The company launched the new test yesterday. It can detect if a person was infected in the past, and this knowledge could help support the development of treatments and vaccines. It hopes to screen up to 20 million people for antibodies for COVID-19 by June.